Hey, Glenn, welcome to ITB. Good to have you.
Hey, Philip, how are you doing?
Good. We have to stop meeting like this. Here's to the next one in person.
Yeah, absolutely. I am so ready to actually travel.
Well, I spoke to Deep Collar, the CEO of Make My Trip. They just closed a 230 million public debt financing with 17 Zoom meetings. No,
17.
no
Wow.
roadshow.
Well,
So,
a lot of convenience to actually doing it by all this new technology. It's something we should
yeah.
discuss later about what that means for business
Yeah,
travel.
I think we will, but you're in such a unique position at Booking Holdings. What would you say your reality check is on the marketplace, recovery mode, taking quarters, taking years? How are you looking at it now in March 2021?
It's interesting. So a year ago, we started talking about how the recovery is not going to be in quarters, it's going to be in years. So now 1 year down, okay,
You were right.
I said years, so we're already into years. The question is how many? And it's really a function of three things, and I think we all know about it. It's the first thing is the virus. How fast is it continuing to spread? How fast are there mutations that are going to make it more difficult for the vaccines to fight? Then how fast are the vaccines going to be put into people's arms and how quickly throughout the world? And the third thing is governments. How fast are governments going to feel that it's safe enough to lift some of the restrictions for international travel, particularly important to us, but also domestic travel? And also, and this is really important, is how willing are governments to start putting money to work when it's safer to travel, but money to work in specifically into the travel industry to help give a boost to get it going. And nobody knows the answer.
Greece did something I read. They inoculated entire islands that are hot tourist destinations. Didn't
It
go by
makes
any. Yeah,
It really makes sense. And it's a great idea. And hopefully everyone will get inoculated so that we can all feel normal and start living like we did in 2019.
Can't wait. So we were talking about leisure and business travel. For starters, a lot of companies now are seeing green shoots, a bit of the beginning of a surge on leisure travel bookings for 2021. And if you're more into packages and holidays, you're definitely seeing. Does that square with what you're seeing across your portfolio?
Yeah, we said in our earnings call last week, we talked about some green shoots is the way we described it too. We use those words. And we talked particularly about a place like UK or Germany and people looking to summer holidays. So it's nice to see that, but it's still very, very small. And what we really need is the international travel to lift up. And that won't happen. So, governments feel that it's safe to have people come into your country.
Yeah. And we talked about business travel. That's going to take longer, and B, some of it will come back, like personal sales calls and personal relationships, but not every training session and quarterly review and onboarding thing is going to come back, or finance roadshows. So the Booking Holdings companies are primarily leisure, but if it's correct that there'll be less seats on an airplane sold in the front of the bus, where a lot of margin comes, mid and longer term, do you see that affecting the pricing paradigm across our industry?
Well, I definitely think it's going to make a big change. And I think also it's not just the front of the bus and the planes, it's also the high-end hotels, that high ADRs for the business traveler who is more than willing to pay up. And that's going to change too. So I think it's interesting though, what I think is going to happen, and this is just simple, economics 101, you got demand that's disappeared. That does not mean that you're then going to be able to charge the leisure more money. That doesn't work.
Exactly.
That's not enough. It goes the other way. What ends up is you end up with lower prices, but you also end up is a decrease in supply. We already saw that. Look, the airlines parked so many planes and so many pilots got furloughed and stuff. There's a question, even if we get a great recovery in the summer, everybody feels safe and starts traveling and stuff, are the prices of airline tickets going to be way up because of shortage of seats, because there's so many airlines that have put their planes in the desert? That's a possibility. And we see a little bit of that. Kayak data is showing increases in ticket prices for flights in the summer. So we're starting to see that.
Yeah, Emirates is going to extraordinary lengths, keeping all their A380 pilots, whatever the word is, so that legally.
So they can
Fly.
actually fly the
Yeah.
plane. Yeah.
So Glenn, last time we had a conversation was 2 days before the Airbnb IPO. And of course, the rest is history, pretty spectacular if you think about it. But in a broader sense, it underscores the importance of vacation rentals and even extended stays. In your recent earnings call, you talked about being quote unquote under indexed in the US. Could you explain that in English to the audience?
Sure. So look, we've been in the short-term rental business for a long, long time. And we talk about, size of our business is not inconsequential. In fact, we've talked about some numbers, 30% type share of all our accommodations being in the short-term rental area. So it's a big business for us. But it's much bigger in Europe than it is in the US. If you go to our numbers in the US, we admit we do not have the supply, say, that an Airbnb has, for example, but we know that customers like that product right now a lot more than they did a couple of years ago. Now, this has been a long-term trend. It's been going up and up and up, but the pandemic made a jump change in terms of how you're interested. Well, but of course, it makes perfect sense, because would you rather be in your own little home, or would you rather be in an elevator crowded with strangers up to the 18th floor when there's a pandemic? Pretty simple choice on that one. Now, people having tried it, now it'll always be in their consideration set. That's why it's so important that we continue to build out all of the potential accommodation types in all parts of the world for our business, so that we can make sure that we're able to offer what the customer wants. So that's what we're working on. I'm pretty pleased about it, because we are the only company, I believe, that it really is global and has the incredible breadth of inventory for both types. Yeah, for both types, homes and hotels.
So as you push vacation rentals in the US, it's interesting. Booking Holdings and Booking.com has by far the largest hotel business in the world by orders of magnitude. Airbnb bought Hotel Tonight, Sam's business, and had to pull back on a lot of its alternate strategies during the pandemic. How important then, as you push in the US, for example, is having a robust vacation rental business integrated with a robust hotel offering?
Well, we think it's incredibly important, and we've always done it that way, because we know from the data, when somebody comes to the site, they don't necessarily know what they want yet. And we see it because they're looking at different types of properties. They look at the home, they look at the hotel, they compare and contrast the different reviews, the prices, which one they want to use, and they choose it. And by offering that, we think we offer a much better solution for the customer. And look, our numbers have proven it. And when you look at the size of the business, it's been working pretty well so far.
A lot of data, like from RateGain, is showing the length of stay getting longer. I guess it's called extended stay in hotel talk. Are you seeing that necessarily? And if so, does that affect strategy at all?
Well, look, the length of stay is always changing depending on the environment. Certainly, the pandemic did make some changes to normal things for many years, and people have seen that. And I'm not going to go to our data, but certainly people who are, for example, working away from home, but it's really far from the office, away from the office. It's not home. It's like God knows where they went off to. So people are renting out places for
digital nomads. Yeah,
exactly. So there is some of that happening, absolutely. But the predominant use of travel is still going to be the holiday. So yes, some people are doing out for 2 months. It's not going to be the majority of people, though.
One of Booking's portfolio companies is Open Table into restaurant reservations. What's new there? That must have been a tough last year.
Oh, just horrific for that industry. It's so horrible. I mean, so many restaurants, shut down. I mean, it's just really hard. And obviously that makes it really hard on our business, because restaurants closed, we're not going to have a lot of reservations there. So what we did is, first thing we did is we said, okay, guys, we're not going to charge you anything right now. We're not charging the monthly subscription fee and stuff. Really trying to help out the industry do that. Now, industry is starting to come back, and you may have seen certain parts of the world people are able to start dining again. We'll see that start coming back. Look, I'm pretty excited about the future. I think everybody is, because we all just want to go to a restaurant and eat again.
Yeah, I interviewed Dara at Uber, and while their rides business was decimated, Uber Eats run rate went from 2 billion to 40 billion.
Amazing, isn't it? Really
And
incredible.
you talk about portfolio diversification, that worked
Yep.
out better than anybody could imagine.
Yep.
I wanted to ask you about, I think you launched Less Sexy, a new transaction booking platform or payment processor. Did you,
Well,
or
yeah, not
new
exactly.
payment platform?
Look, so as you know, Philip, Booking.com historically was always an agency product. It was pay at the desk. And while we had Priceline.com and Agoda are both companies that do have payment on their own. So you do pay the Priceline, you pay Agoda, and then the money is passed on to the accommodations. Booking didn't do that in the past. But we recognize it's really important to have that kind of a payment platform, so you can tie a whole bunch of things together and have just one bill. And then you can also do merchandising things that you couldn't do if you're doing pay at the desk. And that's what we've been working on, really trying to get that moving around the world so that we can offer up some really great, attractive ways for both the suppliers to put in different types of merchandising, and we can combine things at one price, but also for the customer and doing things that make it more customer friendly, more convenient.
So it's, would I be correct? It's a big goal to move more transactions onto this new payment platform.
Well, we think by offering great service for both sides, both the supplier and the traveler, it will naturally move more and more towards that area versus the pay at the desk type of thing. And it's not trying to force it. It's just because it's incentivized.
Right. Let's talk about something you and I normally never get to talk about, flights, because that's never been part of the Booking Holdings pedigree, if you will. And a lot of people believe that's why the market cap is so amazingly high. So how do you feel about selling flights going forward now? Has that changed at all?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And Booking.com is now selling flights. Priceline.com, we built that business. Our first product was an air product. Right. And that was almost 25 years ago almost. But Booking.com had never done flights, but now we are doing it. And you can get a Booking.com flight in the States. You can get in a bunch of countries in Europe, or continue to build that out. At the same time, Agoda also used to be only hotels. Now Agoda is also selling flights. But we think it's important to catch that traveler early in their whole payment, their whole travel journey. And when they start thinking about things, they're thinking about flights. We want to be able to offer it up to them.
Yeah. That will be interesting to watch unfold. By this point, Glenn, everybody knows the quote, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." Not everybody realizes that was Winston Churchill at the end of World War II, but it doesn't matter. You know, if I put you on the spot and said, what's the best opportunity you seized? What's the best way you didn't let the crisis go to waste? What would that be?
Well, yeah, it is interesting to say, don't let a crisis to waste. It's true, but it's very harsh. Because in these crises, we're talking about real people and their real lives. Really, I think a better way to say is, what should you do in a crisis to make sure you're doing the best things for your people? So I think that is something that was so important during this crisis, was to really give people a sense of what's the situation, be transparent, provide information, make sure they understand where we are, what we're trying to do, and where we want to go, and give them a realistic sense of what the hope is. Make sure people have that sense of hope when there really was hope. I started talking very early. Maybe it was one of my first broadcasts to our whole employee base was, look, epidemics all end, pandemics end. Vaccines are created and they will solve this problem. And we didn't know how long, but I said, could be a year, maybe a little more than a year. We'll see. But we will get to where we actually are now today. And getting people to believe that and that hope that we would come back and that travel never stops. And we've been through so many crises in the past, but we always come through it okay. Giving that hope, and that is really important.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. Let's make sure our next interview or conversation is in person. Not staring at the camera. How's that?
Yeah, I'll definitely want that.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Glenn Fogel, thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil.